Hey everybody, it's Kay with Conversations with Kay. I thought I would make a video about how I got started creating my own successful businesses. I get asked a lot about this during my lives, and it's too long of a story, so I usually just kind of skim over it, mainly because I don't want to manipulate my live just talking about myself the whole time. And I feel like if I only give half a story, it doesn't really give a true picture of how I started this and how it went. And I'm always encouraging people that want to start their own business. And y'all know I don't like MLMs. So I always tell people, don't do an MLM, open your own business. Find something you're passionate about and just do it and get it done. So I've got to tell this story. I have to go all the way back to the recession. Yeah, that's a time a lot of us don't want to remember. It was probably one of the worst times of my life and one of the best, and this is why. So during that time, my husband was diagnosed with severe rheumatoid arthritis, and it was really affecting his life. Then you add in the recession, and the company he was working for, and he was like a big-time manager, was in construction, so of course that wasn't good. So he ended up getting diagnosed and then getting laid off because of the recession. He was desperately trying to find work, but as y'all know, it was really bad back then. He finally found a job, but it was, oh my gosh, it wasn't even half of what he was used to making. And we had a horse farm. Some of you know I've talked about that. So we did end up losing the farm during the recession. My only sad part of this story is that I didn't get that business going in time to save my farm. But I'm a big believer in things happen for a reason. And I'll get back to that at the end of this. So anyway, so he took a job making hardly any money. And I knew there was no way we were going to survive on that. I couldn't get a job because nobody was hiring, and especially nobody was hiring a middle-aged woman. So some of you know what that's like. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to start an Etsy store. I had started crocheting again. I learned when I was like 10 years old from my grandma. And I would post on Facebook just things I started crocheting to give. I had my first grandbaby born, so I made a blanket for him. People went nuts over it, wanted the pattern. So I wrote up a pattern and gave it to people on Facebook. And I kept crocheting because I was so stressed out. And the crochet would lessen my stress. So hang in here with me. There's a point to this. So as I kept crocheting, I started making videos. And you can see some of those on here. Those came a little later though. But I made Facebook quick videos to show people how to make a stitch. And then people would go, well, where did you get that super cool crochet hook? Or what kind of yarn is that? So I got to thinking, maybe I could sell these things. Maybe I could open an Etsy store and people would buy these. Now I had a previous Etsy store, but I kind of just didn't stay with it and let it go. So I figured it wasn't going to cost me anything to put patterns on Etsy, right? Because digital patterns, you just write them up, save them as a PDF, and then you can sell them on Etsy. And I was like, I'm going to write up some more patterns. I'm going to put them on Etsy. So I did that, and lo and behold, I started getting orders after order after order. So I was like, well, yay me, because I really need this money. So then, like I said, people were asking me where I got my crochet hook. Where did you get this? So I started thinking, well, I should sell really hard to find crochet hooks, but I don't have any money. Because remember, at the time, we're broke. I mean, we are broke. So I had about $200 in my bank account, and this is no joke. And I owed on my electric bill. So I called the electric company, worked out a payment plan, and I took that $200 and I bought a bunch of wholesale crochet hooks that were unique and people had not seen. And it was a huge leap of faith, let me tell you. And that's what I tell people all the time. A desperate person, desperate times will often lead to a huge success. So I took the leap of faith. I bought the crochet hooks. I think my husband was kind of looking at me sideways. And I still remember this so vividly. I remember sitting at the dining room table eating with my little family. And the computer in my office was in an adjoining room. And I had just listed these crochet hooks. And within minutes, we start hearing cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. And I look at my husband, I'm like, well, dang, let me go see what that is. So I go run over to the computer, and it's all these crochet hooks I bought are selling like crazy. Sorry about the dog. So we were getting an order like every 15 minutes. We were ecstatic. So I'm doing like the happy dance all over the living room, thinking I'm all that in a bag of chips. And my kids are laughing, and they're like, there she goes again. And my husband's kind of laughing, and he's like, well, maybe you should buy some more of those. By the next day, I had sold out of the $200 worth of crochet hooks that I had bought. So now I turned the $200 into like $450. So I took half of it and paid my electric bill. Gotta be responsible. And then took the other half and invested it again and bought more supplies. And then it literally took off from there. It was nothing short of amazing, I will say. It just was. People that watched this happen in real time, like my family, were astounded. They just couldn't believe it. And they were so happy for me. And so I started this business from my house. And we ended up moving because we lost a horse farm. So we moved to a little tiny house because by then most of the kids were adults and the last one had moved out. So we moved to a little tiny house, and up in the attic, I stored all the supplies I was selling. So then it started going crazy, and I branched out. I started buying wholesale yarn, etc., etc. Ended up being one of the biggest knit and crochet supply shops on Etsy. So then I got my courage up and I started listing on eBay. And that went really well. I mean, it went so well that eBay was sending me presents in the mail. So then I branched out to Amazon. Now that was a huge leap because Amazon was a scary beast to me, let me tell you. I had heard some really bad things about selling on Amazon. So I researched for months before I ever listed anything on Amazon. And if you're going to sell on Amazon, I really suggest you do the same thing. So then I jumped to Amazon and started selling my stuff on there. That went really well. Now, I did have a couple learning curves. But, you lose money on a listing a couple times. You learn real quick not to make mistakes. So then I ended up being this big deal on Amazon, and everything went great. I ended up renting a warehouse, moved my business into the warehouse, had multiple very successful years, and Case Crochet is still going, just on a much less scale. Because what I found out was, after these years of going great, was that Amazon can put you out of business as fast as they put you in business. So I'm not going to go through every little detail, but I'll just give a synopsis so you know what to watch for if you're going to sell on Amazon. So I'm selling wholesale yarn, wholesale crochet hooks, yada yada. I become really close friends, I'm not going to name names, with a supplier that made a very unique crochet hook. I was the first one to list them on Amazon. I was the first one to sell them in sets of 3. Because I always did these sets of 3 with yarn, crochet hooks. Because I crochet, I knew what people wanted, right? So I would sell the hooks GHI for a set or JKL as a set. Nobody had ever done this. So that got me a lot of success, got me close. I thought I was friends with this crochet hook manufacturer. But then I started noticing that he was selling wholesale to other people and they were driving the price down. And this is the problem with Amazon. A lot of times it's race to the bottom pricing. So I begged this guy to use MAP pricing on Amazon, which is, manufacturer's approved price, which means if I sell to you wholesale, you have to retail this item for this much money and you could never go under that. And that's so important. And people say, oh, well, that's not right. It should be a free market. The problem is, and you'll see this on Amazon all the time, people will start lowering the price and lowering the price, and eventually it gets to where nobody's making any money on it. So I warned this guy, warned him that I could see it happening, and he ignored me. So then I was selling all this special yarn, which I'm not going to name, and lo and behold, Amazon found out how good that yarn sold, right? So Amazon goes straight to this yarn company and says, sell your yarn straight to us and we'll put it in all of our warehouses and we'll ship it for you. And guess what? The yarn company jumped on it. So what happened? The price went way down. The price went so low that Amazon was selling that yarn with free shipping for the same price I was buying it wholesale. So, yeah, that was not good. That was really bad. Now, keep in mind while I'm telling this story, I am condensing like 4 years into this video. So just keep that in mind. So, I could see things were not going to go well. I could see where Amazon was going to keep doing this with probably everything. I watched the crochet hook manufacturer almost lose his business because he didn't do the MAP pricing. And then I watched him pretty much steal all my ideas, and he even said that he did, and never give me credit or give me anything for it. And so that was a little hard to swallow. So basically I learned a hard lesson that if I was going to sell on Amazon and make money, I had to have something Amazon couldn't recreate or couldn't go behind my back and get or couldn't drive the price down, right? I had to have something no other seller could sell and that Amazon couldn't sell. That was truly just mine. Now, keep in mind, at this time, Kay's Crochet is still pretty successful by anybody's means. But I could see the writing on the wall. I could see where this was not going to be very sustainable. What I knew was I either had to come out with my own line of yarn or I had to switch products totally. So I tried to come out with my own line of yarn, but I was going to have about $80,000 to do it. Now, even though I had this hugely successful business with like $500,000 in sales, I could not get a bank to lend me the money to start my own yarn line. And that's the bias against women business owners, let me tell you. Because I always felt like if it had been a man, I would have got that loan. So that brought me to what could I sell that nobody else can copy, or they could copy it, but they can't make what I make, right? Well, I'd always had this dream about having a popcorn store. Since I was a little girl, I grew up in Kansas. We had Topsy's popcorn was everywhere. I just have such great memories of going to the popcorn store with my mom. Just great memories. So it always stuck with me. So when we moved to like Illinois and Ohio, I was always like, where are the popcorn stores? I thought everybody had them. And people would look at me like I was nuts and like, what are you talking about, a popcorn store? Nobody does that. So I started talking to my husband, and I was like, what if we opened a gourmet popcorn store, and that way nobody could copy it? Amazon couldn't replicate it because it'll be my recipe. And nobody can drive the price down because it will be a branded product and nobody else can sell it. Also, some have heard me tell this story. Many, many years ago, when I was a bartender, I talked to a very rich millionaire. He used to come in and have a couple beers every night. He told me the one thing you can always sell and make money on is food. And he said, good times, bad times, doesn't matter. People will always buy food. It's like economy proof. And I was like, that just always stuck with me. And that was years and years ago when he told me that. So, I'm talking to my husband and I'm thinking, maybe this is a perfect thing. Because at my age, I'm not going to go back to working for somebody else. Nobody would hire me, right? And I kind of like running my own business. I like being the queen of my own destiny, right? So I said, I'm going to keep Kay's Crochet going. And I'm going to start this popcorn business at the same time. And we'll see what happens. So hubby and I talked about it. So it was so funny. Like a month later, my husband sees an ad online. I think it was on Craigslist. And it was for a gourmet caramel popcorn cooker. And it's the whole setup. It's everything. And he's like, holy cow, look at this. Are you serious about the popcorn? Because somebody's got this whole setup for sale. And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, well, dang, that'd be a good way to get going. Because I always like to buy things used. So we made the guy an offer and we bought his whole setup. And that's how that happened. People thought I was nuts. People were like, have you ever made gourmet popcorn? And I was like, nope. They were like, do you even know how to use the equipment you bought? Nope, but I'm going to learn. I will research like I do everything, and I will figure it out. Because I was always making flavored popcorns for my kids and friends, and people loved them. I didn't know how to use any of this fancy equipment, but I figured I'm an intelligent woman. I can figure this out. So initially, we set this stuff up at home, started messing with it, trying to look up information on how to use this equipment, which, let me tell you, there's not a lot of information out there, because if it was, I would have found it. So it was a lot of trial and error. But this is what I'm saying to other people wanting to start a business. Always start from home and expand from there. That way, you're not out tons of money up front. If the idea maybe didn't work or wasn't what you wanted to do, you changed your mind. That happens. I've had other businesses that were successful, but I just didn't like it like I thought I would and changed my mind. It's okay. You can change your mind. I find sometimes people get stuck with one thing, especially on Etsy. Let's say you opened a sticker store and then you were like, maybe this isn't it for me. I'm not real into these stickers anymore. I'll just close my Etsy shop. But what you really should do is just come up with something else or add to it or try something new. So we started from home, and anybody that wants to sell food from home, look up your cottage food laws for your state. Okay? Because many states, especially with everything going on, have cottage food laws where you can make food from your home and sell it without a license. Generally, most states, it can't be anything that has to be kept refrigerated for obvious reasons. But if you're thinking about selling food, look up those laws. So we started making it. We started testing the flavors with friends. One of my friends was like, that is some damn good popcorn. And I was like, and that is going to be the name. And so many people told me not to pick that name, that it would be the death of my business before I even got it going if I picked that name. And I was like, you know what? No, I love that name. That's going to be the name. Because here's the thing. I researched other popcorn companies, and what I found was a sea, an ocean, if you will, of Randy's popcorn, Bill's popcorn, Shirley's popcorn, Pam's popcorn, etc., etc. So how was I going to set my company apart from all these other popcorn companies? I figured I'd do it with the name. And, you know, if you're going to pick a name like that, you better be making really good popcorn. And I feel like we do. So I went with the name. That name helped get this company off the ground in a huge way. Once we got going, then one day my husband was walking downtown in our little town and found this really cute little historic building on the square with a super cute shop for lease. And he calls me and he was so excited because I found this super cute little shop. I think we could probably get a deal on it. It's been sitting empty for a long time. This would be such a cute popcorn store. So long story short, we rented it. We moved everything out of the house. Now keep in mind, once you move this stuff out of your house, now you have to get all your licensing, health inspections. It's a much bigger deal. But I have to say it was pretty easy because popcorn's not like, making hamburgers and cheeseburgers where, the worst thing with popcorn is it might be stale, but it's not going to kill anybody. But still, we had to jump through all those hoops and get everything licensed. And the great thing with that was then I could sell it online. A lot of cottage food licenses say you can sell in your home state, but you can't ship anywhere. So, what did I do next? First, I built a website. I did it myself. It's the website we use now. So I did that first. A lot of people make a mistake of opening an Etsy store first. And you can do that. It's not really a mistake. But I've been doing this long enough to know that I wanted the most emphasis on my website. And then I would use other venues like Etsy to get initial traffic going and then drive it to my website. Because you always want your own website to be the focus. Never lose that focus. So I got that going, and then I opened my Etsy shop. And then I started listing all the popcorn on there, and then it went nuts. So word got around that we had a really good product. Orders started coming in like crazy. Then I branched out to cotton candy. Holy cow, the cotton candy. Again, my husband and my son thought I was crazy. They were like, what are you doing with this cotton candy? And I was like, I think cotton candy is going to be a big deal. I just, was watching trends, researching, and started making cotton candy. It's so funny. We started with a little tiny cotton candy machine that I bought off Amazon. Because again, I'm always going to test something before I invested a lot of money. So that test went over so well. So then I bought a big commercial machine. And then that one went so well, I bought the ultimate commercial machine. So it was baby steps, but you just keep going. And now, as most of you know, we sell a ton of cotton candy. I'm always coming up with new ways to sell it. So I think that's, no matter what business you're in, you got to constantly come up with new ideas. You can't just sit and rest. You got to keep evolving, keep thinking of new things to sell, new ways to package it, whatever it is. So now we're up to speed, and we outgrew the little shop downtown, which was so cute, and I kind of miss it because it was so adorable. So now we've moved to a bigger one in a strip mall, and we moved there, I think, in August, and we've already outgrown it. So that was my big mistake. Big mistake. I shouldn't have done that. I should have gone for a bigger spot. Always go bigger than what you think you need. Because this spot was, I think it's 800 more square feet than we had, which we thought was going to be plenty, and it's not already. So don't make that mistake like I did, because that mistake's going to cost me some money. Because when I moved there, I had to repaint and repair some things and put some money into that spot. And now I'm looking at moving again. So don't make that mistake. But, this is life. This is how things go when you own your own business. You're going to make mistakes. Hopefully you don't make them twice. When they cost you money, you tend not to make them twice. That's for sure. Now, I will say running a business during COVID last year was pretty hard. I feel so blessed that we did not have to shut down because we were food manufacturers. So we were very lucky and very blessed that we got to keep going and honestly had more business than we could handle. The problem with that was here we had all this business, but we couldn't hire anybody because of COVID because so much was unknown back then. So we were working 7 days a week, 8 in the morning to 8 o'clock at night, trying to get all those orders out. And then fall came and things got a little better, so we started hiring people. But then the problem was they would be exposed to COVID and then they'd have to quarantine. And I had one that was off for 30 days, another one that was off for 2 weeks. So that was really hard. And then it was, the unemployment bonuses, so nobody wanted to work, which I get it. They're afraid of getting COVID, and why work when you can stay home and make money? So that was really tough too. Now we're into this year, and business is still going great, but we're still having trouble hiring anybody. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's just a local thing. We have a huge shortage here of people wanting to work. I know the stores around us they're all having the same problem. So that's going to be our challenge this year, is to maintain this growth without being able to hire help is not going to work. So hopefully we'll find some people that want to work and get things back on track. But that's why you guys haven't seen much of me lately. I'm working all the time. I thought today I was going to try to get this video finished because I started it like a month ago. But anyway, my whole point with this video is it all went back to that first $200 I spent and that first leap of faith. I also want to point out, when I started Kay's Crochet, I was 45, 46, 45. And now I'm 57. So it's never too late. It's never too late. I probably couldn't have done these so much when my kids were little, because it did take, even Kay's Crochet, to get it off the ground the first year. I was working 7 days a week. Now, most of it was on the computer, but work is work. So, I was going nuts, filling orders, doing great customer service so I could get repeat customers, which is so important. So I'm not sure I could have done it when my kids were younger. So to me, it all happened at the right time. My youngest had just left home, and the time was right. So I just want people to know, just because you're over 40 or over 50 doesn't mean life's over. You can still recreate yourself to be whatever you want to be. So keep that in mind. I have a lot of people just shocked that I could start these later in life. So keep that in mind. And I hope this answered a lot of questions for people. Ask me anything in the comments. Remember, I've got those other videos on here about how to set up your Etsy store, how to do SEO on your Etsy store. So be sure, if you're running an Etsy store, look at those other videos. I promise you, those are probably the best tips you're ever going to get. I have never yet had an Etsy store that was not successful. And you can look at my Kay's Crochet patterns on Etsy and Damn Good Popcorn on Etsy. These stores didn't get to be that successful because I don't know what I'm doing. Now, having said that, always be careful who you take advice from. Make sure they have a successful Etsy store, because I see a lot of people on YouTube selling their things on YouTube of how to have a successful Etsy store, and they don't even have an Etsy store. You might want to think about that. Most of them say, oh, I used to have one and I know what it takes to make it successful. Nah, that doesn't work for me, because Etsy changes constantly, just like Amazon. So always keep that in mind. Be careful who you take advice from. And I wish you all a wonderful day, and I hope I'm going to get back to making videos and lives very soon. Thanks, guys.